So you measure the thickness of the log that's going in this place and cut it to the length of this line going across to the other side of the wall. So we cut our cross member to the right length so that it'll drop into these two notches. So we plane our cross members top and bottom to get a nice flat surface for them to sit on the log and a flat surface for the roofing boards to sit on. So we measure the thickness at the big end. The big end always goes down to the lower part of the wall. And as it goes up to the top end, the skinnier part of the log will sit up on the low end of the log. So the high end is the fat part of the log, and the low end of the wall is the skinny part of the log. So once we've got our measurements, we cut the upright to size, distance wise. And this is showing the upright getting ready to go into place. It's going to go across there. So we have to notch this upright. Where that line is will be the notch. So you measure down to the thickness of the upright. The big end goes at the high end. So you mark off down to the thickness of the log, and that will be our notch. So once you have a line across there, now you can start cutting the notch out. When notching, I use a little electric chainsaw because they're a lot lighter, a lot easier to use. And as soon as you let go of the trigger, the chain stops, so less dangerous as well. So we're cutting out the notch here to fit the large end of the cross member. So that's our first upright notched, and that's for the biggest end of the log. So it'll sit on there nice and neatly, we hope. Notching is very important. You got to make sure that they fit nicely. After you've done this cutting, you want to paint the notch with your linseed oil, couple of coats. Now we're measuring and cutting the other side. So now we've got our two notches and we need to cut the center upright. What you do with this is you take a string line, you put it from one end of the base of the cross member to the other, and you see how straight it is. If you have a gap between the string and the middle of the board like we have here, you measure that gap and it's a half inch. So that means what you need to do is leave a half inch above your chalk line on the center upright that you have made using this chalk line from notch to the two sides. And it'll also give you your angle as well. So if in fact it does touch the log, then you cut on the chalk line that you've created. If you do have a gap like this, half inch, then you take a half inch off of that center upright. Once you've cut it, there's no going back. If you do cut it too short, um, you can actually put a chalk in if you need to. This is what they look like when they're done, sitting nice and neatly on the notches and sitting on the center upright. Okay, we'll leave it there and we'll start again shortly. That shows the notch very close up.